So I would like to welcome new members to European Policy Network on School Leadership, Megdonia Paunescu from Romania, from the Ministry of Education, and Ioannis Savvides from Cyprus, from the Ministry of Education. So my first question is to both of you, why you are interested in this network? What are your expectations coming to this conference and to the network?
As a ministry, we participate in the network with our department, the Cyprus Pedagogical Institute, right from the beginning and the setup of the network. At this time, we received a very interesting invitation for this peer learning conference, and the theme of the conference is what attracted our interest. I can quote two concepts: the concept of school leadership and the concept of autonomy from the themes, which are among our priorities in the ongoing education reform we have in Cyprus.
Romania is interested in the two dimensions of education, that is leadership and management, of course, and the pedagogical discourse, let's call it. We consider that asking questions is the mechanism of thought. So, reading the invitation and reading the information about the network, we realized that we can get answers to several questions regarding leadership. Since we are talking about pedagogical leadership, meaning being focused on the students' results and on educating them for life and for our 21st century society. And we are interested mainly in the network because it is a way for the Romanian principals and inspectors and policymakers and even teachers, because we are interested in taking action to the gap that always happens, and I know that not only in Romania, between the top management, middle management and basic management. And we already got answers and more questions about it, because hearing the others' experiences and listening to the very interesting presentations and talking formally and informally, last evening we got to the conclusion that we talked infernally too about the matter, about the subject and about the subject and the issues of school leadership. It is infernal, and we derived words like divided leadership to confused leadership. It was interesting.
And what's interesting about this conference is that it has managed to bring together policymakers, practitioners, academicians in the areas of school leadership. So it's very fruitful to have discussions with all these people and take all the different perspectives on the issues discussed.
Food for thought.
Yes.
And not only for thought, but mainly for acting, because it is very important to put it in practice, at least the result of the reflection or the good practices that can be adapted.
And this is where the biggest challenge exists, how to put theory into practice and adopt the good practices you hear in the context of your own country, your own education system.
Yes, and avoid the mistakes that may always occur, because we are speaking about vision that is in future, and the critical premises cannot be always taken into account. And this is extraordinary to have the opportunity to gain from the other's experience.
So I wanted to ask you about these priority areas of our network, which are here. So school autonomy for equity and learning, school accountability for equity and learning, so policy response and so on. So distributed leadership is especially emphasized. So which areas are most important for you in your current educational context of your country?
All of them are very important all the time for every school, in my opinion. But in Romania at the moment, school autonomy is quite a challenge because we have passed through a period of time when decision and responsibility was not assumed, the communist period of time. Then we agreed to the fact that decisions should be taken at the school level because they know what they need. But it is a challenge, autonomy. Equity, we already have steps in it, but autonomy and equity work together. And then it is important, and the Romanian educational system would like to decentralize first the competencies, and we already done part of it, and only after that to speak about autonomy. So this is another reason that Romania joined the network, and we're happy to have this opportunity.
What about Cyprus?
Yeah, first I would like to say that learning is the core of our job as an education ministry. So equity in learning is, and not end learning, is something that is implied. So equity in learning is our top priority. We need all our students, irrespective of differences, to get the same high quality education. As I said before, school autonomy and educating school leaders is amongst our top priorities. Therefore, we are started discussions on how to provide more autonomy to our schools. Our education system is highly centralized. It's important to make our schools more responsive to local needs. Therefore, we need to move fast towards more autonomy, pedagogical, administrative to our schools. We have heard some very interesting practices and experiences of how other countries have managed to do so. We have heard also the deficiencies in this implementation of these new policies. So, going back home, we will evaluate and maybe network more with these countries. This is a good chance for us to network and try to avoid mistakes and implement the positive and the most powerful perspectives of these policy options.
So, and maybe you have already some concrete ideas which you would like to bring back to your practice.
Yes, there are some ideas. Of course, we are at initial stages in changing the governance model of our education system. So I cannot say how it will end up at this moment. And of course, to achieve this aim, it's important to have ready to build the capacity of our school leaders at all levels. That's another big project for us.
So maybe you got already some concrete ideas which...
Yes, we got already some concrete, I've got already some concrete ideas that are going to be used after a period of reflection on it and when writing the report to the Minister of Education. There are some examples that can be used for making decisions as evidences for making decisions regarding the experience of the other countries in different aspects. And beside that, we expect from the network to continue, especially since we have policy coherence. It is a very important aspect in Romania after the autonomy I talked to you about, not neglecting the other key issues, but it is very important because sharing ideas would also contribute to policy coherence, and the network is an opportunity for that. So we should fight to sustain the network, such as to benefit not only for a period of time, but for the future.
So thank you very much for this interview.
We would like to thank you, and we are happy that you joined the night.
Thank you very much.
We hope